Hello guys, you're welcome again to another After Effects tutorials, and today I want to show you how you can create an amazing motion graphics logo animation right inside Adobe After Effects without the using of any plugin like this one. So support me on this one. Do not forget to like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then turn on the notification. Come back, let's get started. Now in Adobe After Effects, we're going to create a new composition. I'm going to name this main. I'm going to leave the resolution to 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second, and then I'm going to leave the entire duration to 15 seconds. Though the animation generally is just 13 seconds, but I like to leave it like this. Then you hit OK. Right click on your timeline, go to New and add a new solid layer. So we're going to simply name this BG and then hit OK. So I'm going to add a fill effect. So I'm going to quickly type in fill, then grab this. So let's change the color to what our video example is. I'm going to use this pink. So the code is FE097 and then hit OK. You will need a reference image to draw the petals you saw in the example. You can feel free to use your example, or you can simply go to Google and get any reference image for petals. So I'm going to simply drag this into my project manager window. So I'll also drag it into the composition timeline. So I'm going to pull in, then pick my pen tool. I'll make sure no layer is selected. I'll set my stroke color to red or blue so that it will be very contrasting. Then I'll pull in like this. Now I'm going to trace this quickly. Now we are done. We can now hide our reference image. So what we're going to do now is to select a fill color to the gradient, select the shape layer, and change the fill color type to gradient. So we're gonna click on this and go into the gradient. We're gonna select the radial. Beautiful. So feel free to set your own color for the petals, but I'm gonna go with this. This is the previous color I have used, the purple, the pink, and the cream color right here, the light yellow. So I'm gonna hit OK now and move. I want to move this gradient point to somewhere here. This will give me this. So I'll change the stroke color to lighter purple. So I'll just select the purple in there. So feel free to select your stroke thickness as well. So but I'm going to leave it at this. So let me just increase the lightness of the purple. I just want it to contrast a little. And this is what we have. Now expand the content right here. You will see the shapes. This is the shape one. So select it, Ctrl D on your keyboard to duplicate it. This is going to make you a double shape. So what I'm going to do is to select this pen right here and select the delete vector tool and then delete some of the vertices. You can hide the bottom one so that you see what we are doing. Then you select the top one and delete some of the vertices. What I want to do is just to reshape these petals. I want to have the inner one. Now let's unhide the bottom one. And this is what we have. So on this particular one, I'm going to remove the stroke color. And on the bottom one, I'm going to select the gradient and change this cream to a bit deeper one. I'll just come inward like this just to create a deeper level of this yellow. Then you hit OK. So that is going to give you this currently. Feel free to shape your own. So you can equally select this and change the opacity. This will all depends on what you want. I just want to drop the opacity. I'll draw the opacity to 70. So the next thing now, hit Y on your keyboard to activate the anchor tool. Make sure the entire petal layer is selected and then move the anchor point right below it right here. Then right click on your timeline, go to new and create a new solid layer. We're going to use this to find the center of our composition. However, we're going to use it as well. So create a new null object and call it the flower control. Make sure you move the anchor point to the center for the controller and then align it to center as well. Then select the petal layer and move it until you have the bottom at the center of the controller. Somewhat like this is okay. Now select the petal layers, hit S on your keyboard to reveal the scale property. So move your time indicator to 1 second forward in time and then set a keyframe for the scale. So we're going to move to 0 and then change the value of this scale to 0. So easy ease your keyframes by hitting F9 on your keyboard. Then select this, go to graph editor and edit the speed graph. That is going to give us this. Beautiful. So we're going to expand this same shape layer and add a repeater. Let's expand repeater 1 and make the copies 4. Then expand transform repeater 1. So we're going to go to the position X and 0 it out. We're going to set rotation to 91. We're going to move the anchor point Y to 135. Go to 2 seconds forward in time and set a keyframe for the rotation. Then come back to 0 and set the rotation to 0. Hit U on your keyboard to reveal the keyframe. Then you easy ease your keyframes. Select the petal layer, Ctrl D on your keyboard to duplicate it. So I'm gonna select one of them. So let me hit U on the upper one so that I can reveal the keyframe. I want to remove the rotation keyframe. So I will remove this rotation keyframe. Then I will hit R on my keyboard to reveal the master rotation and then rotate this to fill in the other space. Select both petals and make it a child of your flower control. I'm going to move my time indicator to the end of the composition and hit R on my keyboard to reveal the rotation of the master control for the flower. Then I'll set a rotation. Then I'll come to 0 and set my rotation to 1 or -1. Any of it can work. This will all depends on your preference. Now select the top petals and offset it to this point so that the first animation will happen before it's scaled up. So if you preview now, this is what you're gonna have. Beautiful. So I'm going to select everything except the background and then pre-compose it. Make sure you move all attributes to the new composition and then hit OK. On this pre-composed layer, I'm going to add a drop shadow effect. I'll make the softness 15. Then I'll increase the distance to 8. Drop the opacity to 40. So I'm going to duplicate this 2 more times. The bottom one, I'm going to hit S to scale it out so that it will be bigger. Top one, I'm going to hit S to reduce it to about 50 so that it will be smaller. 50 is too big. I'm going to just pull it inward a bit. This should be okay at 34. Now I'm going to offset this forward in time so that they will happen different time in real time. Beautiful. So feel free to be creative here. If the offset is not working, you can pre-compose and always go back to it to make changes. So I'm going to select all of this and pre-compose it. I will just call this flower. and make sure I move all attribute to the new composition and then hit OK. It is now time we bring in our image for the animation. So I'm gonna go to where I have my image, then I'll bring this inside here, then drag and drop it into your timeline. This is gonna give you this. By the way, I got this from freepik.com and then do a Photoshop to remove the BG. So you can check them out to download whatever image you want to use. Feel free. I'm going to Ctrl+Shift+C to pre-compose this. I'll move all attribute to the new composition and name this placeholder. Hit Y on your keyboard to activate the anchor point. Then move the anchor point to the bottom right here. Go to 1 second forward in time, hit S on my keyboard to reveal the scale property, set a keyframe, then move to 0 and set the value of the keyframe to 0. Select all your keyframe and easy ease. Make sure you activate motion blur for this composition and also activate it on this placeholder layer. So this is what you're gonna have. So what we're gonna do now is to offset this to about 2 seconds when the petal has finished animating before it will come in. That is a bit too delaying, so I will just offset it to match my animation. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is to duplicate this 3 more times. Then I'm going to offset it. So I'll select the bottom ones and hit T on my keyboard to drop the opacity to about 50. So if you preview now, this is what you have. Beautiful. I'm going to select all of this placeholder and then pre-compose it. I'll call this photo. Make sure you move all attribute to the new composition and then hit OK. So what I'm going to do now is to duplicate the flower. Then I'll bring it to the top right here. I'll switch this panel to set a track matte with the flower to alpha matte. This is gonna give you this. Now select the photo layer, duplicate it. Then we're gonna move it below this and set the track matte to none. Pick the pen tool. I will mark some parts out like this. Hit M on your keyboard to reveal the mask property. So I'm going to set this to subtract. Then I'm going to feather this out a bit. Right click on your timeline, go to new and add a new null object. Make sure you move the anchor point to the center and rename this controller 1. Align it to the center. Select the flower and the photo layer and make it a child of the object. But before that, we're going to duplicate this flower layer first and then hide it. We're going to hide the bottom one, then select all of these with the photo layer and make it a child of the control 1. So I'm going to hit P on my keyboard and move it to the right side of my screen. Then I'm going to unhide the flower layer, the one I duplicated. Then I'll just change the scale. You can always come back to this and make adjustment later. So I will create another controller. I'll name this one controller 2. I'll make sure I align it to center. I have to align my flower back to center as well. So I'll make this one a child of the controller 2. Then hit P on my keyboard on the controller and move it to the left side of the screen. Now it is time to add a text. Using the text tool, I have added all the text. Feel free to add whatever text you want to add. So now let's do the animation for the text. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a solid from which I'm going to use to mask this out. So I'm gonna go here, select the angle tool. I'll set the fill to a solid color and then set stroke to none. So I'm gonna draw a shape right over this. I'm gonna move it down a bit to make sure it covers just the 2024. I'll just call this mask underscore 1. So I could duplicate this and then move it up to cover the wrap. You can change the color if you would like, just to keep things under control. So I'm going to move this mask, the bottom one, right above the 2024. Then I'll set the track matte to alpha matte. So I'll move the second mask to on top of the wrap. Then I'll set the track matte for the wrap text to alpha matte. I'll move my time indicator to about this point. I'll select all of these two texts, hit P on the keyboard to reveal the position property and then set a keyframe at that spot. Then I'll move to 0 and move the individual y-axis like this. I'll move this one up and then move the wrap down. Now that is gonna give you this beautiful. So what I'm gonna do now is to also do the same thing for the beta. Select the remaining text right here on the top. So I'll just move my time indicator to the same 1 second, hit T on the keyboard to reveal the opacity, then set a keyframe. Then I'm going to move to 0 and set the opacity value to 0. I'll select all the text and the mask. I'll scrub through the timeline to at this point where the character, that is the image, is showing. Then I'll just offset it. So select the top 2 layer and also offset it a bit so that I'll have an organic feel to it. So this is what we have now. Now we're going to select all of this layer except the background. Select everything, then toggle this timeline right here and activate the 3D and make all layer 3D. Let's go down to controller 1, hit Alt to reveal the rotation property. So we're going to make the X value -22. I'll also go to controller 2, hit R on the keyboard to reveal the rotation, make the X value 22. Select controller 1, hit Alt to reveal the rotation properties, and at 3 seconds right here, make Y rotation -25 and set a keyframe. Then move your time indicator back to 0 and set the value to -90. Select all your keyframe, hit F9 to ease. Now right click on your timeline, go to new and create a new camera. We're going to use the direct 35mm and then hit OK. So right click on your timeline again, go to new and create a new null object. This null object is going to be our camera control. So we're going to make it 3D and select the camera and then make it a child of the null object. You can keep renaming things so that you keep things organized. Move your time indicator to 4 seconds forward in time. Then hit P on your keyboard while your camera controller is still selected. Set a keyframe. Then move your time indicator to 5 seconds forward in time. And then we're going to change the Z value for the position to 2223. Now we're going to animate, we're going to select the controllers, controller 1 and then controller 2. Hit P on the keyboard at 4 seconds so that we can set position keyframe for that. Then we're going to move to 5 seconds forward in time. Then we're going to move this to the left in the X axis. And we're going to move controller 1 to the right at X axis. If you preview now, this is what you have. Now it is time to bring in our logo. So I'm going to navigate to where I have my logo. Drag and drop your logo into your project manager window. We're going to select the footage option and then hit OK. So I'm going to drag and drop it into the timeline. Pre-compose this. I will name this logo holder. Make sure you move all attributes to the new composition and then hit OK. Add a drop shadow effect to this layer. So we're going to set the color to white. Then we'll adjust the distance a bit. We're going to also change the direction to the opposite side. I will increase the feather to about 10. And this is what you have. So I'm going to make it 3D. That way you can no longer see it because the camera has passed it. So I'm going to hit P on my keyboard and change the Z value to 2223. So I'm going to select the logo and offset it to about 4 seconds forward in time, so that it will only show when the camera has passed this front element. So now I'm going to go to 5 seconds, select my logo layer, hit R on the keyboard. I'm going to animate the X value, set a keyframe for the X, and then come back to 4 seconds and rotate it only one time. That is 360. So select all your keyframe, go to keyframe assistance, then easy ease. Also edit the speed graph. That is gonna give you this beautiful. So what I'm gonna do now, this very particular layer, I'm gonna pick my rectangle tool. I want to mask it. So I'll make sure I start from the upper end corner of the composition preview window. I just want to mask it like this so that any logo can fit into this template. I will select the logo holder layer, Ctrl D on the keyboard to duplicate it. I will hit M to reveal the other mask property. So I will draw another mask from here. Now select the first mask and delete it. Ctrl D again, duplicate it again. Then we're going to still mask it another more time. Mask this part like this. Then Ctrl D again to duplicate it for the last time. Hit M to reveal all the mask. I'm going to remove other mask and leave the last one. I will collapse all the mask options. Then I'm going to offset it forward in time. I'll just offset them away from each other. So if you preview now, this is what you're going to have. Beautiful. I'll come to about 9 seconds, select all the logo holder composition, hold down Ctrl Shift D to cut it at that spot. Then we're going to delete the XX. So that is going to make our logo to end here. So we're going to go down and select this one of these text layer. Ctrl D on your keyboard. If you like, you can change the text value. Then I'll move it to the top. I'll remove the 3D effect. Align this to center. So I'm going to change the text size. This will all depends on what you want. Also cut it to that point. So if you preview now, this is what you have. I'm gonna go into each of them and adjust the timing so that this will look very nice the way I want it. This is all up to you. Explore your creativity. So I'll just offset them and change the timing so that this will work very well. After adjusting the timing, this is what I have. I adjusted the timing of everything to make sure everything shows up at the right time. Then the motion background right here is optional. If you want to know how to do this motion background, I already created a tutorial showing you how to use the gradient stroke effect. That was an external plugin and it is free. You can check up the tutorial right above right here, and you'll see how to use it and where to download it from. Also, you can download the AE Juice package. You can get several types of stroke and motion background like that you can just drag and drop and add. That will save you a lot of time. Like I said, it is optional. So this is how you can create a motion graphic logo animation, a professional one in Adobe After Effects without the use of any third-party plugin. If you learned something new on this video, please hit the like button. That will enable the algorithm to suggest this to more people. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me in the comment section and I'll reply to all questions as quick as I can. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can support me in any way. You can give me super thanks, subscribe to my membership, whatever way you want to support me with. Even if you share the video, that is also a huge support and it is highly appreciated. If you like the video, leaving a comment is all a support. So in whatever way you are able to support me, I highly appreciate you. So until I see you again on the next one, my name is SSB Otaru from MotionDigit Studios.